What is going on, everybody? Today I will be responding to your guys' college football hot takes. We do this video quite often, and it is one of my favorite videos to make because I like interacting with other college football fans. So if you guys want to be a part of this video, then just leave your hot takes when I ask for them in my YouTube community post, because we will ask for your guys' hot takes there. But before we get into reading these hot takes, let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel, because we upload daily college football content, and we basically cover everything on this channel, so definitely consider subscribing. And also consider joining my Discord server down in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into the video. This first person says Nico Iamaleava will beat out Jalen Milroe to be top 3 in Heisman voting next season. And I do think both quarterbacks that you've mentioned have a lot to prove in 2024. Jalen Milroe will have a lot of pressure on him to develop as a passer, and Nico will have a lot of pressure on him to exceed expectations people have for him. And people expect Nico to be that guy for Tennessee going forward. I wouldn't be surprised to see any of these two quarterbacks be in the Heisman race though. You could say what you want about Jalen Milroe, but he has so much room to grow as a player. And talent and hard work can get you far. He is dangerous with his legs already, and he can throw a deep ball. But imagine just how good Milroe can be if he actually develops into a consistently accurate passer. And Kalen DeBoer could really be the perfect guy to help Jalen Milroe take that next step. Maybe Nico has a bigger ceiling than Jalen Milroe. I guess we'll see what happens in 2024. But to answer your question, I would not be surprised if Nico beat out Jalen Milroe to be in the top 3 of the Heisman votes. Tennessee will have to win games though, and Nico is going to need receivers to step up, so he has the help on the offensive side. But let's not forget what Josh Heupel had going for that Tennessee offense when they had Hendon Hooker and an elite receiving corps back in 2022. I wouldn't be surprised to see that Tennessee offense be a top offense in the country again. Maybe not the best offense in the country like they were in 2022, but at least a lot better than it was in 2023. But Nico still has a lot to prove, so we will see what happens. But there's so much potential for Nico Iamaleava. This next person says Washington will at most have 7 wins. I'm getting TCU vibes with them. We have to remember it's still early in the offseason. Yes, Washington loses every starter on their offense, and they lost their head coach. But we still have the spring transfer portal window, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Jedd Fisch make a bunch of big moves for this Washington team. They've already done a solid job in the transfer portal. They picked up Will Rogers from Mississippi State, and Jedd Fisch brought some other talent from Arizona as well. There's still a lot more to learn about this Washington team, but everybody knows Washington is expected to take a step down. And with the Big Ten being a very tough conference, I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see Washington go 7-5 or worse. But right now, all we can do is speculate. But let's not forget, this team did just make a national championship, so do not overlook that. But this next person says South Dakota State beats Oklahoma State and wins the FCS national championship, but Oklahoma State still has a good season. I think something that makes next season interesting is the fact that we are getting possibly the 2 best FCS teams playing 2 very interesting Big 12 teams. But more importantly, we are getting the back-to-back FCS national champions, South Dakota State, playing on the road against Oklahoma State to open the season. I wouldn't be very surprised to see Oklahoma State get upset in this game, but Oklahoma State still probably has a lot more talent than the best FCS team. And Oklahoma State returns the best running back in the country, Ollie Gordon. Oklahoma State just recently made the Big 12 championship, and they are 4th in the country for returning production. And their win total is only at 7.5. And when I covered the Big 12 win totals, I was so confused on why their win total is that low, because Oklahoma State will be a good team, and there's no doubt about it. And they very well could be the best Big 12 team now that Texas and Oklahoma are gone. I think Oklahoma State will find a way to beat South Dakota State at home, because I do think Oklahoma State is a good enough team. But that would really change the game if South Dakota State actually upset Oklahoma State on the road. And that would honestly be crazy to see South Dakota State three-peat. But it's definitely not impossible. And that would really shake up college football if South Dakota State beat Oklahoma State and won the national championship again. This next person says Notre Dame not only beats USC, but they win comfortably by at least 10 points. I kind of wanted to bring that up after letting a USC fan know that they aren't going to be 10-2 at the worst and beat us. Just for the context, I'm not trying to offend any USC fans, but this guy has a point. And if you are a USC fan, and if you think USC is going 10-2 at worst, then you are setting yourselves up for disappointment. People need to be realistic about their teams, and after seeing how bad this USC defense was last season, you cannot realistically predict a 10-2 season or better. And I don't care what they did in the coaching staff. Yes, they've made some awesome moves in the coaching staff, more specifically on the defensive side. But there are other teams in the country that are getting better and making improvements on the coaching staff just like USC. I'm not saying USC won't win 10 games, but it is very unlikely that they will win 10 games in their first season of the Big 12. That defense still needs a lot of work that needs to be done. and their defense will not be good with the snap of your fingers. Yes, I do think USC will be better, and they could be a top 5 Big Ten team if everything lines up right. And maybe they could shock some people, but I don't get why people put unrealistic expectations on their team, because let's be real, USC will be lucky to win 10 games next season, and it's going to be very difficult for them to beat a talented Notre Dame team. USC loses Caleb Williams, and Notre Dame beat this USC team with Caleb Williams by 20 plus points last season. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Notre Dame win by 10 plus points in 2024. We'll see how big of a step up this defense takes, because this could be a closer game if USC is a lot better on the defensive side, and USC will have home field advantage in this game. And I wouldn't be surprised to see USC win, but like I said, people still shouldn't have dumb expectations about their team. And saying USC is winning 10 games minimum next season is very unrealistic, definitely with the brutal schedule that USC has. This next person says Alabama will go 9-3 in 2024 and miss the playoffs. That includes losses to Georgia, Texas, and Ole Miss. Yeah, that title and thumbnail I made for my video probably offended a lot of Alabama fans, but I am just reading hot takes, so don't get too offended. But I think the SEC is very stacked, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see a team like Alabama miss the playoffs, just because of how many questions this team has heading into 2024, with Nick Saban retiring. Kalen DeBoer is going to have to adapt to SEC football, and he's going to have to know how to use the resources he has at Alabama. And Kalen DeBoer will have to learn how to recruit at a high level for Alabama. But I think Kalen DeBoer has what it takes, and he has been a winner in everything he has done. I wouldn't be surprised to see Alabama lose to Ole Miss, Texas, and Georgia, because I'm very high on those 3 teams. But I also wouldn't be surprised to see Alabama go 11-1 or 12-0 and make the college football playoffs. College football is going to be a lot different with the new 12-team playoffs. And everything is changing, so nothing will really surprise me. And I think the SEC is pretty open, and there's a bunch of contenders in that conference. So we'll see what happens. This next person says TCU will fire Sonny Dykes just 2 seasons after a Natty appearance. I expect TCU to be better next season, and if TCU wins 7 or 8 games, would they really fire Sonny Dykes? I really don't know, but I doubt Sonny Dykes will get fired. He will probably just move on from TCU at some point, or he'll just retire. He would probably have to have another losing season or 2 to get fired, but like I said, I expect TCU to be a bit better next season, and they've recruited and utilized the transfer portal pretty well, so I do not see Sonny Dykes getting fired after next season, or really anytime soon. This next person says Arizona State goes 1-11 and they will suck. Dang, get straight to the point, why don't you? And by the way, I don't agree with this. Maybe Arizona State won't be a great team, and maybe they will suck, but there's no way they will be worse next season than they were in 2023, and I don't see them winning only 1 game on that schedule. I do think Kenny Dillingham has this team heading in the right direction. Arizona State has the 3rd best transfer portal class of the Big 12, and also the 7th best recruiting class, and they did show some spark last season in wins against UCLA and Washington State, and they are only going to get better and find more ways to win games. I do not necessarily expect Arizona State to win a bunch of games, but they will not go 1-11. And if I'm wrong, you can come back and tell me I'm wrong, but come on now, Arizona State will not go 1-11 in 2024. This next person says only 1 team will get in from the ACC and Big 12, that being the conference champions. The rest will be from the SEC, Big 10, Group of 5, and Notre Dame. I don't think this trend will be exclusive to this year either. Now, I definitely would have put it out of the conversation for the Big 12 or ACC to get 2 teams in, but that would mean there would have to be 2 teams with very strong cases, because the Big 10 and SEC is going to get the most attention, and that's just the reality of the whole situation. And as the more years go on, the ACC could possibly be gone maybe sooner than we think, and then the Big 10 and SEC will really be the only conferences that matter. I do believe when I did my way too early 12-team playoff predictions, I did actually only have 1 team making the playoffs from the ACC and the Big 12, but my predictions were way too early, and they are going to be a lot different when I do my later predictions in the preseason for the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised to see only 1 team out of the ACC and Big 12 make the 12-team playoffs next season, and this trend could definitely continue with the more attention that they will continue to put on the Big 10 and the SEC, because the Big 10 and the SEC are basically super conferences and they could expand even more. This next person says Colorado will struggle in the Big 12, and here's why. A lot of the teams in the Big 12 will be pretty good, and some will be more expensive than Colorado, and Colorado will probably have a 4-8 or 6-6 season. Now, I do think you are right about there being a bunch of good teams in the Big 12, but there are also no teams on that schedule that Colorado cannot beat. Colorado played in 1-possession games last season against Arizona and Utah, and Arizona and Utah are supposed to be 2 of the top favorites of the Big 12 in 2024. People need to remember Colorado basically met expectations last season because nobody expected this team to be a really good team, but 4-8 is better than 1-11, and it was a step up from 2022. And now they return a lot of talent from the 2023 season, and they just have to learn how to win more close games. Colorado has the best transfer portal group in the Big 12, and they also recruited the #1 offensive tackle in the country, Jordan Seaton. People can talk all the crap they want about Deion Sanders in Colorado, but at the end of the day, all I see is Colorado trending up and continuing to make progress. But they will have to show it on the field next season. I could see Colorado going 6-6, but I do not see them going 4-8 again. This Colorado team will have a lot of talent, and if I'm being realistic, I don't see them going any much worse than 6-6. Maybe they go 5-7 and miss a bowl game, but I think they will go 6-6 or better because, like I said, all I see is progress from this Colorado team. This next person says Urban Meyer will return to Florida to replace Billy Napier. This would be a full circle moment for Urban Meyer if he came back to Florida and possibly finished his coaching career at Florida, but this would definitely be wishful thinking. And what are the odds of this actually happening? I do think Billy Napier is definitely in the hot seat, and if we don't see some positives from Florida next season, then he could very well get fired. We'll see what Florida can do next season, but even if Billy Napier gets fired, I find it very unlikely for Urban Meyer to be the next head coach for the Florida Gators. But it is college football and you never know what will happen, so I wouldn't say it's impossible, but Urban Meyer's health comes first. I'm going to read one more hot take for this video, and this last person says, people are writing out Clemson too soon. Klubnik is a solid quarterback, not great, but solid. Great talent, an elite defense, and a proven coach with Dabo. With the ACC being very easy to win, only needing to worry about Florida State and California, and maybe Syracuse and NC State, but I don't really see them winning it. They have a good shot at beating Georgia this year. That game is 50-50 in my opinion, slightly leans Georgia, but a good chance for the Tigers, and with the bye in the playoffs, I could see this team make another title run, much to the dismay of college football fans. I think just about everything you said in this comment was actually a hot take. I thought it was interesting that you mentioned Clemson needs to worry about California, and most people don't even consider California a top contender of the ACC. Most people don't even consider Syracuse a top contender either, but personally, I do think California could be a dark horse out of the ACC. California does return a lot, and they are only going to get better, and Jaden Ott will be a beast at running back. But I really wouldn't consider California an obvious top team of the ACC. Most people don't even think they will be that good, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them finish in the top 5 of the ACC. But again, California is a dark horse team. We don't know what to expect from them, and they could end up not even making a bowl game. You also mentioned that you think Clemson could beat Georgia, and maybe they could shock the world, but we would have to see a completely different team for what they were against Duke to open the season last year, and we will need to see more from the offense, and it definitely starts with Cade Klubnik at the quarterback position. Dabo Swinney has won multiple national championships, but it's been a while, and there is this whole narrative that he cannot adapt to the new landscape of college football, but it all kind of makes sense, because the more college football changes, the more he struggles to keep Clemson at the top. There's no denying Clemson is a top contender, but I personally trust Florida State more, and I think Mike Norvell is doing a very good job at Florida State, and Dabo Swinney has kind of lost his way, and it's not really his time anymore. Time is really ticking for Dabo Swinney and this Clemson team to prove themselves again, but I'm interested to see what Clemson could do next season. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's hot takes. Be sure you like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you will love this channel, because we upload daily college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing, and also consider joining my Discord server down in the description below. But that's going to do it, guys, and peace out.